Mullah Ali said, "Do justice, otherwise remember, the killers of the she-camel of Prophet Saleh were only 4, but the entire nation was destroyed, because the sin of the rest was their silence." These words carry deep wisdom and truth that touch the heart of every believer who seeks justice and moral strength. Imam Ali's statement is not just about one event in history, it is about human behavior and the responsibility every person carries toward justice and truth. Injustice is not only committed by the hands of those who act wrongly, it is also committed by the silence of those who watch and do nothing. When people choose silence in front of oppression, they become supporters of the oppressor without realizing. The killers of the she-camel were only a few, but the rest of the nation watched, accepted, and stayed quiet. Their silence made them equal partners in the crime. The punishment of God did not come only for the few who committed the act, but for all who stood by without resistance. This is a reminder that silence is never neutral when truth is in danger. Justice is one of the pillars of faith. Without justice, no society can stand, no heart can find peace, and no community can survive. Justice begins when a person stands up for what is right, even if it goes against his own interest. It is not easy to speak truth when silence is safe, but silence destroys the soul. When people ignore injustice because it does not harm them directly, they are helping it grow stronger. One person's oppression today can become everyone's suffering tomorrow. Imam Ali's words are a warning. Do not think that you are safe by staying silent, because when evil spreads, it spares no one. The story of Prophet Saleh and his people teaches us the same truth. Prophet Saleh was sent by God to guide his people toward faith and righteousness. As a test of their obedience, God gave them a sacred she-camel and ordered them to treat it with respect. But a few proud and arrogant men decided to kill the she-camel to defy the divine command. When they did, the rest of the people could have stopped them, could have protested, could have shown their disapproval. Instead, they remained silent. They thought it was not their business, and that silence became their destruction. The punishment of God fell upon all because they shared the sin through their silence. Silence in the face of injustice is not peace, it is betrayal. When truth is hidden and wrong is done, every silent heart becomes part of the darkness. Justice requires courage, and courage begins with speaking the truth even when it is difficult. Imam Ali, throughout his life, stood for justice without fear or hesitation. He faced challenges, enemies, and hardships, yet he never let silence take the place of truth. His life teaches that justice is not just a concept, it is a responsibility. In today's world, Imam Ali's words are more important than ever. We see injustice everywhere, people being mistreated, the poor ignored, corruption accepted, lies spreading like truth, and yet most people choose silence. They say, "It's not my problem." But every act of injustice affects the world around us. If we do not stop it, we become part of it. The destruction of Prophet Saleh's people is a divine lesson that silence has consequences. Justice is the heart of every moral system. It is the voice of humanity and the reflection of faith. A believer cannot ignore wrongdoing and still claim to be righteous. The Prophet Muhammad said that when you see evil, stop it with your hand. If you cannot, then speak against it. If you cannot even do that, then at least hate it in your heart, but that is the weakest level of faith. Imam Ali's words go even deeper. He teaches that when people do not act or speak, they stand with the oppressor. The silence of good people is the victory of evil. Every time a person remains quiet when truth needs a voice, injustice grows stronger. The people who commit wrong actions may be few, but they are empowered by the silence of the majority. That is how societies collapse and nations lose their moral strength. It starts with one wrong that everyone ignores, then another, until the entire system is drowned in corruption. The nation of Prophet Saleh did not fall because of 4 men, it fell because everyone else accepted their act with silence. Justice is not just about laws, it is about conscience. It is about knowing the difference between right and wrong and having the courage to defend the right. Every person must carry this duty, not just leaders or judges. Even in the smallest matters, in families, schools, workplaces, justice should guide behavior. When someone is wronged, silence should never be the answer. Speaking up may be difficult, but it is the only path to peace. Imam Ali's teaching reminds us that God values justice above comfort. He does not bless those who choose ease over truth. If silence was a form of safety, then the people of Prophet Saleh would have been saved. But they were not, because they failed the test of responsibility. They thought by staying quiet they could avoid trouble, but in reality, they brought trouble upon themselves. Silence never protects anyone from the consequences of wrong, it only delays them. When a person remains silent against oppression, he kills his own humanity. The voice of truth is what makes a human heart alive. Speaking truth for the sake of God is one of the highest forms of worship. Justice is not always about punishment, it is about fairness, compassion, and honesty. It demands that every person be treated with dignity, that no one's rights be ignored, and that no one be oppressed in silence. Imam Ali was known as the embodiment of justice. His decisions were based only on truth, not power, wealth, or favor. He said that justice is sweeter than honey but harder than iron, because it demands sacrifice. A person who stands for justice must be ready to lose comfort, friends, and even his own safety, but he will gain the satisfaction of pleasing God. On the other hand, those who stay silent to protect their worldly peace will lose the peace of their hearts. Injustice survives only where silence lives. The moment people speak, act, and unite for truth, oppression weakens. Every small act of courage, a word, a protest, a refusal to accept wrong, becomes a part of divine justice. That is how light overcomes darkness. The lesson from Imam Ali's wisdom is timeless. The world changes not by those who do wrong but by those who do nothing to stop it. So do justice, even if it is against yourself. Speak truth even when your voice shakes. Stand firm even when you stand alone. The killers of the she-camel were few, but the silent majority brought destruction upon themselves. Let that be a reminder that silence is never safety when truth is at stake. In the eyes of God, justice is the measure of faith, and silence before injustice is the weight of sin.